You're listening to Feel Good Astrology with Louisa Munson. To request a personal reading with Louisa, go to www.feelgoodastrology.com.
Hi, it's Louisa Munson, and this is part 3 of the Moving Home series, where I look at practical astrology, I guess forensic astrology, and today I'm looking at the build and also moving of home of one of my patrons, Mr. Tom Evans, who has kindly given me the date of when his build started and also when he moved. So the first thing an astrologer would do when forensically looking at houses and homes within a birth chart, you might remember if you've seen part 1 and 2, is have a look at the 4th house, which represents the home, the house, and also the early sort of childhood and behaviours that somebody has built up over time because of the home and the house that they grew up in. Now, the 4th house starts at the part of the IC, or Imam-Koli, and Tom's is in the sign of Cancer, which actually is the 4th sign of the zodiac anyway. Is that right? Yeah. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. Yeah, that's 4th. So I'm recording this at 1 a.m. So Cancer actually is the sign of the natural sign of the home, and it's ruled by the moon. Now, ordinarily, when I've been talking about this 4th house, I've been saying, look at the ruler of the sign that the 4th house cusp is in. So, for instance, when I was looking at my chart, my 4th house cusp is in the sign of Aquarius, up here. But obviously that was down here in my chart. And the ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. So Uranus would be an important planet for me. When I looked at Carl's chart, his IC is in the sign of Scorpio. And so the main ruler of Scorpio is Pluto. So I'd have a look at Pluto in his chart. Now, the trouble with the moon as being the ruling planet of the home is that the moon moves really, really fast. So looking at the position of the moon when a project starts, it's not necessarily going to tell you much about whether it's a very serious project or not. Obviously, the position of Uranus and Pluto that move very, very slowly really bring up remarkable changes. So in this instance, looking at the transit, i.e. the current position of the moon at the time of the start and at the time when Tom moved in, might not yield us any really specific information because it moves so fast, and so it shows up in quite a light-hearted way. That said, I'm going to look for some other things as well. So, for instance, at the time of Tom's move, and also at the time of when he started building his house, I'm going to look at whether there were major transits going on. And by major transits, I mean something including possibly Jupiter to do with expansion, Saturn to do with responsibility and hard tasks, Uranus to do with moves, Neptune, where's Neptune? Neptune here, to do with dreams and desires and illusions and things that are being created, and also Pluto. So there's a lot going on really, and let's see what we can find out, shall we? I also, before I just say that, I should also say that because Uranus is in the 4th house, it's worth paying extra attention to Uranus, because obviously Uranus in the 4th house shows that Tom's view of homes is quite eclectic, and that he will probably have an unusual home and be attracted to homes that are in a sort of an Aquarian vibe. Aquarian and Uranus kind of energy is very much egalitarian, futuristic, it will use new technology, and in particular will satisfy the movements and growing urges. Now, seeing as Tom's ascendant is also in Taurus, which is one of the signs of nature, and Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Venus is in the 10th house, this also signifies to me that Tom approaches things from a sense of nature and fairness to nature, and expressing that is one of his highest goals. So we already know, I don't know about you, but I already know that the house that he built was an eco house. So it really, really fits in that he's got an Aquarian or Uranian feature in the area of his home, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do now is just see what transits were going on, where the external planets were at the time when he started that. And to do this on Astrodienst, you just go to the chart selection, and then what I'm going to do is just change the date. Actually, I've already put it in. It's the 2nd of August 2016, so this is when Tom started building. So let's just see what was going on. So I'm going to click here to bring in the transits. And what can we see? Okay. So the actual date when Tom did start building his house was, quite interestingly, the sun and the moon and the asteroid house were all in the 4th house of house and home. So that's quite a good indicator, because even though the moon is the ruling planet, and I've said, you know, it's not going to carry that much strength because it moves so fast, having the asteroid house and the sun in the 4th house at the same time shows that Tom was going through a particular home vibe, which is quite cool. Let's just see, the position of the sun is at 10 degrees Leo and is pretty much right over his Uranus. It's just a couple of degrees beyond that, so it is classed as being in a conjunction. So the sun at the time that Tom started doing this house build was right on Uranus, which is one of the planets in his 4th house, which again shows that something is going on in his 4th house, something is going on in his home, and something unusual, a new project, because Uranus represents a new start and changes. Asteroid house, let's have a look, is at 5 degrees Leo. So it's interesting that house and the sun are equidistant on either side of the planet Uranus in the 4th house, and also the moon is in the 4th house. So that's a really good indication that that something's starting in the home. Now, I mentioned that Venus is Tom's ruling planet because his ascendant is in Taurus and Venus is the ruler of Taurus. Venus has literally just left the 4th house. So Venus kind of started the whole thing rolling, really. Venus going through the 4th house. I mean, obviously, Tom had been planning to build this house for quite some time. And I'm going to assume that because he moved in less than a year later. So, you know, when you look at things like grand designs on television, you always know that things go beyond the budget and take like 3 times the length that they're supposed to. So I'm guessing that Tom really managed this very well. But Venus almost comes through the 4th house to say, yep, we're clearing the decks, we're getting ready, something beautiful is about to occur. And then the sun, house, and the moon come in, they aspect over Tom's major planet in the 4th house, and boom, it started. Something else that I'm noticing as well, just something worth noticing is there's a little bit going on in Sagittarius. Now, the midheaven, which represents achievements and our life goals, and presumably if you're going to build a house, it's going to be one of your life goals. Having Mars right on the midheaven shows that you've got a lot of determination, or Tom's got a lot of determination to achieve his goals. So if I'm looking at the position of Mars, Mars is just changing sign from Scorpio into Sagittarius in the 7th house. Now, Sagittarius is a sign to do with optimism and hope and projects, but it's also a sign to do with freedom and egalitarianism. And so I guess Mars moving into this sign on the date that Tom is creating this really is saying, I'm determined to achieve some freedom here, and I'm going to get it. I'm really working for it. And Saturn's already in the sign of Sagittarius, showing responsibilities and freedoms are a theme for him. But I'm noticing, obviously, Saturn is coming up to his natal position of Saturn, which shows he is in the preparation to his second Saturn return, which occurs at approximately the age of 58. So this is in the lead up to the Saturn return, and during the time of the Saturn return, we are reevaluating our achievements and things. So it looks like Tom is engaging in a project that could well succeed. It might not. We know it has succeeded, but it's interesting just to see that these are coming into alignment. And yeah, I think they're the main things I'd like to comment on, really. So that's the astrology of when Tom was starting his house build. Now let's go back to the chart selection. So I'm just clicking up here, and I'm going to put in the date of when he moved into his completed house, which is the 12th of June 2017. I have to thank Tom for volunteering to be a brilliant example here. I'm going to bring in the transits. Let's just see what's occurring at the time. And here's the thing. Not much going on in the 4th house. But look, I said the Saturn was lining up, coming into his Saturn return. Now, the Saturn return is seen as a major, major transit. Most people experience 2 of them in their lifetime, 3 if they're lucky. They happen every 29 years, 28, 29 years. So this is Tom's second Saturn return at approximately the age of 58. And the first Saturn return shows where our responsibilities are getting us down, and where we're re-evaluating our responsibilities, where we might have bitten off more than we can chew. The same things might come up again for your second Saturn return if you haven't learned about that. But the second Saturn return could also represent a time of achievement. If you've managed your responsibilities well, and you're ready for a new start, and to kind of draw a line under your life and say, this is where I am now, then this is a huge sign that he has achieved something, and he's like drawing a line under the past, and this is his new starting point. So that's a very good new starting point. Something else that I think is fairly significant is that the moon, now I don't know what time of day Tom moved into his new home, but the moon, and remember the moon is the ruler of his 4th house, the moon is conjuncting Pluto, and Pluto is also in a conjunction, is in a weak but applying into a conjunction with his midheaven, which is to do with success and achievement. So if we think about the position of the moon again, the moon represents the 4th house. The moon is aspecting the planet of transformation, the slowest planet. It's aspecting the Pluto to do with transformation at the point of achievements. So really what's happening is we've got a more permanent marker in Tom's astrology showing, a really positive, transforming new start. And so there's not so much here in the fourth house, but we've got markers of a big change from his Saturn and his Pluto, and also including his moon.
You've been listening to Feel Good Astrology with Louisa Munson, and this recording has been made possible by all you lovely supporters at Patreon. To request a personal reading with Louisa, go to www.feelgoodastrology.com.